Hello everybody, we have Mr. S. Ravi with us, a man who needs no introduction. He's the former chairperson of BSE, chairman of TFCI, as well as the founder and the managing partner of Ravi Rajan Co. Hello sir and welcome to Business World.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time out. I know it's a Monday, just a post-budget Monday, and it is going to be very jam-packed for you, but I appreciate that you took out the moments to have a brief interaction with us.
Most welcome.
Thank you. And without wasting more time, I would like to ask you, what is your first reaction to the budget? What was done well and what are we missing out on still?
So, under the circumstances where global cues are not in favor at this point, economy and otherwise also, where we see a lot of inter-country issues, global headwinds, it's a good budget in my view. Fairly consistent budget, and has looked at certain sectors like the semiconductor, the AI industry, etc., MSME, and that is something that is very positive in this budget. So I would look at it as a long-term visionary budget in sense of, and it's all mentioned in the budget, 2047 is what they are aiming, and I think it's a long-term budget, though there are some short-term measures too, but this is a long-term vision that they are sort of envisaged, and that is what I have to say. The fiscal part has been well controlled, and it is an averagely good budget under the circumstances that we are in.
And would you say that some sectors have been missed out as well?
So, for example, startup, I expected a little bit more on the startup side. It means, we could have done a little more on the startup side. That is what I particularly feel. More could have been done on the real estate side. And that is what I felt.
Fair enough, sir. So my next question for you is, the budget prioritizes fiscal consolidation while sustaining a growth of about 7%, which is what our minister started with as a budget speech. So in your view, has the government struck the right balance between prudence and growth, or are there risks being deferred to the medium term?
So as far as risks are concerned, as far as growth is concerned, we are strongly poised. That's no challenge there. As far as the deficit and also the fiscal part is there, it is fiscal prudence has been exhibited in this budget, because you have not seen over allocation of anything, we have not seen expenses being put under control. So these are few good signs as far as I am concerned. So it's not a glamorous budget in that sense, but it's a very defensively good budget in the situation. So certainly the growth has been the fulcrum. And here also the budget really focuses on saving, which is a great thing, and has attended to weak segments which is likely to be affected, and that is SMEs, MSMEs, data centers, etc. So that is what I have to say.
That's true. I mean, we don't always need a very glamorous budget, but a very inclusive budget, which I think is what this year 26-27 budget has been focusing on heavily.
Everybody was looking at personal taxation benefits, etc.
Yes.
And that is why there was a bit of gloom there. But then last year was a great bonanza for the personal taxation, and government has its own compulsions in terms of revenue generation, etc. And I would have expected something like a reduction in TDS somewhere. Of course, TCS and all that has been attended to, especially in medical and education. But I would have expected a little more liberal this thing on reduction of TDS. This would have at least helped the cash flows. But then they have done what under the circumstances what was possible.
Right, and the budget, of course, does it only have an impact directly on the sectors that it addresses. It has an indirect impact on sectors that it does not address, including the capital markets, which is what my second question to you is about. So capital markets have been seeing several reforms, from bond market measures to change in STT, which is one of the hotly debated aspects of the budget this time. How do you see investor sentiment and market depth evolving post-budget, and especially for the long-term capital attraction in the Indian markets?
So India and Indian investors are resilient in many ways. This STT, there are two views on STT. It has increased. Now it is inevitable. but it could have been done on a slab basis or on block basis. It could have been more prudent there, but having done this, it won't impact, because see, when STT came into play about 5-7 years or whenever, so still we absorbed it. So there was a lot of thing why STT is being introduced. So, and people are making money out of stock market and they are paying for it. So I think STT introduction, I'm not coming into the right and wrong of it. What I'm trying to say is basically it could have been done the other way around. It could have been done with a little bit of volume based STT could have been brought in. So it would have given the high traders who trade too much would have benefited from it. And also it would, basically the purpose of this STT was to stop speculation in a great way, because especially you found that small investors were getting swamped into this speculation, and I think that was the principal reason behind this STT, to discourage people who do on futures, options, etc., and on derivatives. So it was principally based on that. So my view is very different. It's, and some part of the coverage in the media also talks about that the government doesn't, or nobody likes speculation and small investors losing out money.
Right, fair enough. I think we'll have to see how the budget actually plays out across the year. Yesterday just the announcement was made, so let's see how we go from on paper to real life.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So talking about certain sectors that were left out, which was an earlier question I posed to you. So my next question pertains to that. So services, especially finance and IT, received selective but targeted support. So in your opinion, does this budget adequately recognize services as India's primary growth engine, or was it heavily manufactured or manufacturing sector focused mainly?
So for example, if you look at IT, means here basically they have given a lot of relief, especially if you look at safe harboring, which has been a very important aspect, where the allocation has changed, and 15.5% is the basic rate at which it will be done. So that's a very good step, that in my view, and it is a very protective layer for the IT sector in that sense. And then second, we look at data centers. Data centers, India has to, what is the quest of the Indian government is, India should be the largest data center, and India being the largest digital payment, one of the largest in transactions. So data centers play, and information and data play a very important role in the Indian context, and I think it is a very good thing which they have done, tax holiday on that. So from my viewpoint, that's a great step, and compounded with that, with 40,000 crore going towards chips, that is also a very, very good thing. So I think these are few things. Few things which people have not noticed is the rare earth corridor. So India is the third largest, or if you look at rare earth, but the production is 1%. Can we enhance it? Because it will be a great revenue churner to that, and that is, I think, the first move towards that. That is what I would put it.
Yes, not just for revenue, but also for indigenous manufacturing, whether it is in the energy sector or wherever else we use the rare earth metals. It's also a part of a larger Make in India scheme.
You have to sow the seeds right now. You can't get instantaneous results in everything. So I think that is the endeavor, to look long. You look at other country like China, it plans 20-25 years ahead. So from that perspective, it is they are looking ahead. That's what I would say.
It's very heartening to see that the government is not just preaching but also practicing what they are saying.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So, but when we talk about manufacturing, which is what the budget heavily focused on this year, it requires a lot of capital expenditure, whether it is private sector, public sector. So my next question is pertaining to that for you. So budget leans heavily on public capex to crowd in private investment. From your experience, what will determine whether private capital actually follows or flows in, and particularly in the manufacturing or the infrastructure sector?
So if you look at from the government's viewpoint, 12.2 lakh crore has been put in the capex in this budget, which is a good sign. From last year it has increased by a significant amount, and nearly 1 lakh crore, which is good. But I am very thoroughly disappointed with actually the private sector and they are more into actual hardcore manufacturing. Many of them have not come. They've gone into power, ports, etc., etc. But you look at hardcore manufacturing. Do we have somebody like a Siemens? Do we have somebody like that? That has not happened, and I think that is a little disappointing. Government can only put schemes and all that, but actually more important is the private sector has to blow money back into this country, and that is what is most important. So I'm not too. The private sector needs to actually look at, but on the other hand, the government must also take steps for ease of doing business, give them tax holidays, give them more incentives, and give them more capital, and that is what I would say. So larger, for example, you mentioned about startup, I mentioned about startup. So did we give startups only become large companies? Yes. So have we done that? And startups are happening in the service sector, technology sector, but no real startup is happening in the manufacturing sector. So that is why I feel if government has to really do something, then they should give startups for manufacturing a big boost. That is what I feel personally. Though they have done it in MSME and all that, but I think a little more needs to be done here.
The government focused heavily on MSMEs this budget, and while they are one of the key pillars of India's economy, we have left out startups this time. So, yes, that's right. Yeah, I completely agree with you that yes, manufacturing either because of the psychological barrier or the manpower or infrastructure barrier, it hasn't really reached the startup space, at least not in India yet.
Yeah, and one more thing is the labor cost. The labor cost has increased, which is of course right, which is deservedly right, but in order to attract capital from across, we should put some economy of scale here, which is very important. That's what I personally feel.
So how well has the budget addressed this aspect of making it easier for private sector to do business in manufacturing?
So I don't think at a higher heavy engineering side they have done anything. They have done something in defense. They have done something in data center. They have done something on artificial intelligence. They have done it in chips. But really, if you look at hardcore engineering, it has not really happened that way. That's what they have given sops and textiles, but heavy engineering is what I think has not been addressed.
Right. So one of the themes of the budget, or the primary theme I would say, is Vikasit Bharat, which is also how the finance minister started the budget speech. So I completely agree with you that the pillars that you have mentioned need to be addressed if we really want to make a ground level change. And talking about Vikasit Bharat, my question for you, sir, is that looking at India's long-term vision of Vikasit Bharat, which is what the budget actually focused on, what is the single structural reform missing in this budget that could have had the biggest impact on growth and governance over the next decade?
So my thing is, you have addressed all the sectors except hard manufacturing. And if you look at ESG also, new technologies will come into play only if you encourage manufacturing. Atmanirbhar is what we should, the whole, we are seeing the rupee where we are. So if you have less of imports and more of exports, I think that is what is going to be the key. And unless you manufacture in India, make in India, and this is a thing that is requires implementation also. Make in India is good. There is a very good theme about it. Atmanirbhar Bharat is very good, but actually we need to put it on the ground and have more implementation. I think that is the key to me as far as I am concerned, because we should see something. See, people are going, as I mentioned earlier, ports, power plant, all that is fine, but let us look at hard manufacturing. So that has not happened. So we should have propagated companies like BHEL, or something should have come in something like this, where we could have actually excelled. But I think it's a process. Government has its own limitation. It has this much money, and it cannot go into all sectors. And the private people also have to plow in money, and that is what we have to be responsible. Banks have to lend money. So it's a whole capital formation, it's a chain of capital formation which has to work together harmoniously. That is what I would say.
So I think inclusivity is not just in who is addressed, but the people who have to participate also have to participate in an inclusive fashion.
Yes. Two more things.
Yes,
A
please.
committee on banking has come.
Okay.
So let us see what is the reform that they are giving, and that is going to be the most important. And digital banking is going to be occupying a great space. So what are we going to do towards that? So because banks, if they are strong with a good balance sheet, they can lend. They are far stronger balance sheets now. We can lend more. We can get deeper. We can get more manufacturing. That's what I would say. Service is very important. Service is a very important sector. One more thing that we missed out, how do we should have promoted tourism a little bit.
Okay.
So we didn't see anything in tourism also.
So if you could share your thoughts about it.
Tourism should be an industry because it is the third largest employer if you look at organized and unorganized. That is one thing that we should look at. And tourism is booming. And if we give a little more sort of a fillip to that, it should work very nicely. That is what I would say. But thank you so much for inviting me and being part of this whole thing. But it is overall a good budget, reasonable budget, which has focused on certain areas. And maybe government in its wisdom thinks these are the areas that are good. Green energy has been, of course, Viksit Bharat has a full component of green energy.
Yes,
Sustain.
especially CCUS.
Yes, all that is there. So maybe they feel that that is work in progress and need not have put in the budget. Because everything cannot be put in the budget.
Yes, fair enough.
Yes.
So let's see how it plays out in the year that is to come.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.